Everyone can rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Can we get a roll call?
Okay, Wonder Jim?
Here.
Klein?
Here.
Steffes?
Here.
Gardine? Here. Palmer? Here. DeHaan?
Here.
And Highwood?
Here.
All here?
Thank you very much. Please note, as a courtesy to the members of the audience and the Board of Education, please silence your cell phones. And public will only be able to speak during public comment if signed up. So first off, thank you very much for everybody that comes. I mean, this is great. I mean, I love hearing the everyone talking and engaging and everything like that. It's kind of like at home, right? I mean, when there's no one there, I don't know, it's a little spooky. So it's good to hear everyone here and having fun and enjoying themselves. So thank you all very much for coming. Next item, the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. On to reports agenda. Board member reports, let's start with Amy.
I have so many. All right, first of all, Parks and Recs. I don't know how many people have been out to Heritage Park and seen there's a new walkway and a new dock, and it's all safe now, and you can actually fish from there and not fall in, which is great. Also, the basketball courts, for all of you who might play basketball. They're going to be resurfaced this spring out in Heritage Park, so it's going to be awesome. It'll be beautiful for you to play on. East of the cemetery, we have some primitive paths going in if you want to go out for some spring walks, which is really fun. And we're also we've been partnering a lot with Tree City, the city itself, Friends of Buck Creek, and we're doing a lot to take out invasive species along Buck Creek so that we can keep things nice, especially over by our new intermediate building. And then, some of you might know Mr. Buck, some of you might know Mrs. Buck, but there is a memorial going in over at the pickleball court for his parents, which are Jim and Kitty Buck. So that's kind of my Parks and Recs report. Band stuff, we had solo and ensemble state this last weekend. Lots of great kids getting lots of firsts, which was impressive. We had band festival and jazz festival the last 2 weeks, and all rankings of 1. One of the cool things Eddie Garcia told me is that Grandville has not gotten anything less than a 1 since 1969.
Wow.
Never. So we have an amazing band program. We have more ensembles than any other school our size, and so that's something to be very, very proud of. I got to go to an ESL conference with Josh Bishop, who was working with trauma-informed counseling, and so that's been a really cool thing to see. I also got to go with Roger and with Barb to the KCTC Career Prep 2030. Roger even spoke, and he did really quite a nice job. Good job, Roger.
Is that a backing?
I was going to say, she sounded surprised a little bit.
I know.
No, he's stellar. He's
Did sound a
great.
little surprised.
No, he's so good.
Okay.
There's also, I also got to go do a little bit of a community connection with Anna, and she's been working a lot with talking about all the ways that we're meeting the excellence of our students in this district. And then there's hockey. So hockey ended. Congratulations to Mr. Philo, because our Bulldogs may have lost to the Byron Center Bulldogs. But when Joel Brazil was talking, they were at tryouts also on Monday, and Byron Center said that Grandville was their hardest competition as far as the playoffs go. So that was really a huge honor to hear the winners of the whole district go and say, hey, Grandville's got some scrappy players going on. I'm going to toot my horn just a little bit with this because Lewis was one of 81 freshman players this year, and he was ranked 4th in overall points of those 81 freshmen, so he made honorable mention all conference. And then also we had kindergarten and pre-kindergarten info night, and Scott led that, and Roger led that, and we have a bunch of folks wanting to come to this district. So it's really cool that we have them starting at that age and wanting to be Bulldogs. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Joe.
I was lucky enough to spend 2 days last week training at Kent ISD with Mike Gelmy, Mark Easterly, and Officer Jake Carlson, which a lot of people know in the district. It was through an organization called iloveyouguys.org, and they train for reunification. If there's a crisis or an event at a school, how do we reunify children with their parents? So that was a nice training. We have a lot of stuff coming up this summer, so we'll be involved with both Wyoming District and the Grandville District. Excuse me. Secondly, my wife and I were able to join the DECA team in Detroit this past weekend. Thursday and Friday they competed in state. We did not place, but we did have a lot of good competitors. I think we had 53 total, something like that, total kids that went that competed. So it's a big program. Congratulations to Carter Hostetler. I think I'm saying it wrong. I got it? All right. He ran for the Michigan board, and he was elected as a secretary. So it's a pretty big deal. There's about 6,000 students there. It's crazy. Lots of fun. So great job to Parker Stewart, who's the teacher and the organizer of that, and Lisa Burrell, who all did a good job. And then I won't steal any thunder for the 8th grade girls basketball team. I'll leave that up to them. So
Great.
Undefeated season for them.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bob?
I will relinquish my time for the celebration of the 8th grade basketball and also listening to Dave's fantastic presentation for Cummings.
Kim?
Wonderful. Well, echoing Amy, I was able to attend the solo ensemble and really enjoyed it. In fact, I wanted to report that I was there watching our marimba quartet. They were marimbas, xylophones, vibraphones, and I've gone to solo ensemble competitions for schools for decades. I've never seen a judge react like he did. He was flustered. He couldn't find words. He stood up. I never see them stand up. He stood up and he walked up to each one of our players and shook their hands. And then one thing that I noted on my phone to tell you all tonight is then he stood back after complimenting them. He looked at the instruments and said, "Gorgeous instruments. Your school really invests in the right stuff." So that was a really impressive thing to see there. So I wanted to bring that back because I know that we've really invested in that. So that was a great thing to see. And I also just, wanted to plug in thinking about our band. Over the years, watching it grow, they have jazz bands, winter guard, drumline. We've approved a lot of these new programs in the last few years. And Eddie did tell me too, more ensembles than any other. And so if we ever have an opportunity to expand and add more educators to that space, we kept the same staffing, and they have added so many programs to our district. And so I'm kind of curious, how do they do it all? Those gentlemen came and loaded all the instruments too, drove them to Kalamazoo. I asked, "Do you want us to meet you back?" "Nope, we got it. We'll unload everything. We'll take care of it." And they're doing this all on their weekend, so very impressive. I want to also say a shout out to the high school teachers this week. I've been working with them with my son with special needs, and he's been traveling with the robotics team. They've had 2 great successful trips to Canada, where they're one in Victoria. They placed higher than any Grandville team ever has, and they just got back this afternoon from Barrie, Ontario, where they had another great event and have been learning a lot. But just back to the educators too, for being flexible and working with these students and giving them this opportunity, because I've seen my son grow more in 3 weeks having these opportunities to go out and evidence his learning hands-on than I have in a long time. He's just really excited about it, so that's exciting. Congratulations to our high school bowling team. Took state. That's so cool. I think that's awesome. This month is March's Reading Month, so I hope we're all reading with our students and underscoring the importance of that. And I know several of us will be at schools this week reading, and so I look forward to seeing you all there. And finally, I got to go to McCall Conference last week. Something that's near and dear to my heart is educational technology, as many of you know. But it was a delight to see many of the Grandville educators there. Looking around at ways that we can continue to use best practices, using computers and technology in education. A lot of them took the opportunity to stop by where I was presenting and just dump ideas back and forth together. So it's just fun to see them there and learning and bringing it all to our schools. More to come on that, I'm sure.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Barb?
Well, I'll try to be as inspirational The other two ladies were. Actually, the dinner at the KISB was really, really good, and we got to talk with students who are going to the KCTC. There must be 20 programs that now are out there. It isn't just health anymore or engineering. It's all kinds of different things, graphic arts. And they gave us each cards, and I'll bring them, I left them at home. But I just thought you would like to see the variety that our students have to go there. And the ISD's hope is to move some of these out to, the districts too. So, they understand the travel time and what it takes to take classes out there and get those skills. But they're using machinery that is just what they're using in the field right now. It's not like it's old stuff that they've been given, it's what's happening right now. So many of these students are going to walk away with the certification and a job or the opportunity to get more skills. And they're all just really cool people. I was really impressed by their they know what they want to do kind of thing. I think I left high school really not really sure what I was going to do. But they, all of them, almost all of them. And we had a Grandville student wait on us, gave us our dinners, and she was just beautiful and kind, and she could speak to us, just wasn't nervous. And so I just thought, oh wow, we've really got some great students there, meeting other great students from all over the district. So kudos. The meal was delicious as well, cooked by the students, prepared, delivered, and they had this this design in the middle of the table. It was all chocolate, but it looked like it was a sculpture of metal or something. And they said you could eat it, and it's like, I don't know, but it was all kind of cool how it was created again by the students there. They're just learning all these, again, skills that are going to take them, straight in. There are board positions available on the KIASB board if you're interested. I think they said there's more than 2, so it might be something you're thinking of or might consider. And Roger, you did do a fine job. You're a leader out there. He's taking, the chair position, or he'll run the committee. And this one is about linking with businesses. And I think that is really where we need to be at. Businesses aren't really sure how to work with students. They want them, but how do I make it their best experience? So Roger is leading the charge, and I was just very proud. We did sit with some folks from Lowell, and I couldn't help but brag how great Roger is, and that we're lucky to have him. So the last thing, do I have anything else? Oh, I did want to mention the memorial for Jim and Kitty Buck. I think that is just marvelous. They gave so much to the boosters, to this community, both of them. Wonderful, wonderful people, and I know their family must be so honored. So whoever made that happen, thank them. Thank you, I'm done.
All right, thank you, Barb. Brent?
All right. We had a great turnout for the Hall of Fame dinner, Athletic Hall of Fame dinner. If those of you that don't know it, they have a committee that selects former athletes and people that volunteer in the community. So we had a dinner to honor the people that were inducted this past Saturday night. And there was a great turnout for that, and good to see a lot of people that I went to school with back in the day. So that was pretty cool. Wanted to give a shout out to Lisa Vanderlaan and Peggy Krebs on the community ed. I don't know if we ever do that, but for all of you in here, there's lots of opportunities in community ed for your students all the way up through adults. This winter, I did pickleball on Thursday nights at Cummings, and it was awesome. Peggy Krebs, she puts a lot of time into it. She's always finding subs and for people that can't show up, and it was awesome. Get to meet new people and get a lot of exercise on Thursday nights. Let's see, bowling won state championship, powerlifting won the state championship.
Yeah, they did.
Also, the boys were first. I think the ladies were third, so that was pretty cool. Lacrosse season started this past Saturday, so that's our last sports season here, so that's going to be interesting coming up here. We play Jenison Wednesday night. Just a comment in terms of Grandville's facilities and stuff, though, too, like you had with the orchestra. We were waiting in the atrium in between games, warming up, and there was parents from Spring Lake that were in there talking, and they were just amazed by the facilities that Grandville has, and they're like, I can't believe how lucky the students are. So that's a big thank you to the community for providing that. Then for the 8th grade girls, I don't know if you played Rockford, but hopefully if you did, you beat them. Otherwise, you beat Rockford when you're in 9th grade. You always got to beat Rockford.
Right, gotta beat Rockford.
That's all I've got.
All right. So I'll be brief too. The Hall of Fame dinner, right? You guys mentioned a lot of things, right? I was going to mention. So just a couple quick things. Hall of Fame dinner, yeah, it was a great turnout. But just a quick education on that. So that is the one thing right now that the athletic boosters, the general athletic boosters, does. And we're always looking for more sponsors. We give out like $15,000 a year in scholarships to student athletes. So it's really a great event, and it's an opportunity to recognize not only the athletes, but like a Peggy Krebs was given the award for service to the community. And I'm sure some of you may know Peggy because she's very involved in a lot of different things around. So that was a lot of fun. Spring sports all in full swing. And then I had an opportunity this weekend after the band competitions to go to another competition, which was History Day. So I don't know if we got any history buffs in here, but there was History Day. It was out at Grand Valley, and it's really kind of cool. It's a competition where the kids can put on a skit, they can put on they can create a website, they can do an exhibit, all about something having to do with history. And in this case, it was turning points in history was the theme. There's some schools like Jenison has a big group that goes, and I can't remember there was another school that had a lot of kids there that went. So it was really kind of a cool competition. My son participated as well. But everything. It's elementary, middle school, and high school. Yeah. Yep. I mean, he got a chance. I was telling Mr. Martini, got a chance to meet a parent from Cummings. She works out in the history department out there.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and it was fun because my son, who's a junior, got a chance to meet the chair of the history department at Grand Valley, who he'll take classes from next year. Because he's going to do the dual enrollment thing. So it was kind of a neat opportunity. So it just amazes me that it doesn't matter what you're interested in. There is a flavor and spin on everything you can think of. So if you want to get involved in something, I guarantee you there's some type of club or group or competition or something like that you can get involved in and do. So I encourage you guys, encourage all you students, if you find something you like, get involved. Get involved and ask your teachers, because they'll be more than willing to help you find what your passion is and help you get involved in those things. So that's all I have.
Okay.
Roger?
You bet. Thanks. It's always so much fun to listen to you guys. You're so involved, and you know mention. I mean, I run out of things to talk about. I could, but it's just great that to hear all the wonderful things that are happening here at Grandville Public Schools. So, without further adu, a few of you have talked about this team. You know, it's very hard to be perfect at something. And when you're playing basketball. Or any kind of sport, or get a score, to get a perfect score is very tough. And I'm excited that with us today is, I thought you were laughing at me. No. With us today is our 8th grade girls basketball team, our 8th grade girls undefeated basketball team. I had the opportunity to see them a couple times this year, and it's kind of funny because Coach Ashley's here, and I was standing up top, former basketball player and former varsity coach, boys and girls, and I'm watching, and I'm just raving about, look at them deny the passing lanes, look at them, help side defense, look at them talk on the break, and all these things, and all of a sudden I get somebody who turns around and says, "That's my wife," because I said, "Man, that person can coach." He's like, "That's my wife." I'm like, "Oh, well, man." I was just so impressed watching them. So anyway, without further ado, we'll turn things over to Coach, and also Coach Van Hecken is here, our varsity coach as well. Thanks for being here. Yeah, that'd be good.
You guys, is this? Okay.
Hello.
You guys can stand right up wherever behind us, stand behind the board, stand off right wherever works good.
That's great.
All right.
Turn, can we see ya?
Oh, okay. All right. So, like Mr. Barup just said, I'm Ashley Smith. I am the 8th grade Maroon coach. I've been part of Grandville basketball for a while now. I helped coach varsity for a while, and Coach Van Hecken asked me to coach the 8th grade girls this year, which was pretty exciting because I have a daughter that's on the team, which she might not have always been as excited to play for me. But I will announce the girls for you, and then I'll talk a little bit about our season. We have Morgan Davies. Yeah. Lauren Denharder. Yeah, Lauren. Yeah. Addie DeVries. Alexis Durazio is not here tonight, I don't think. She's our manager, but she's amazing. Reese Dykstra couldn't be here tonight, but Lexi Hendrickson, Olivia Hopp, Ellie Kleinhexel, Brynlee Mann, Havana Meyer, Addison Perez, Elliot Smith, and then Helena Vennard cannot be here tonight. As a coach, you can't ask for a better group of kids to coach. They're the type of kids that are eager to be in the gym. They want to be in the gym. Every opportunity they had, they wanted to be there. They faced some injuries this season that were hard to get through, but they didn't stop. Illness too. We were in the winter sports, so I felt like somebody was always sick, but we managed to pull through. Brynlee, are you okay? All right. It's been a while since she was okay. These girls also faced some just adversity, so we just had some sometimes scheduling conflicts, gym space. They were eager to even get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and have a practice so we could get into the gym on a Friday, or take a bus from the middle school to go to the high school so we wouldn't have to share a gym and we could practice together. We were able to have open gyms sometimes and shoot-arounds together on the weekends, and the majority of the girls were always there unless they had a conflict. You can't ask for more than that from student athletes that are just good kids. There's zero behavior problems. They're all great students. They put the student and student athlete first. Probably the coolest thing about this group of girls is some of them are Lynx in the Lynx program at the middle school. But they were invited by the Lynx coordinator to participate in the unified game out at West Ottawa. So our whole team was invited, and they helped chaperone the middle school students, part of our unified students, out on the basketball court, on the bus with them. They were dismissed from school for the day, but it was a full day event, and they did amazing. I was able to go out there and watch them, and it was probably the highlight of the season for me, was just watching them be leaders in that situation as well. They are actually going to be helping at another unified game coming up next Monday, since they did such a great job. And then just anytime that they faced adversity this season, they played Hudsonville as another big rival. They beat them, so that was cool. We had a couple of we had played Reese Puffer this year, which was like a 50-minute bus ride. Not my favorite bus ride, but we got there. It was an interesting environment. It was pretty intense and hostile, and it was a team that was their last game of the season that had not been beaten yet, and they handed them their first loss. So not the best way for their season to end, but we were okay with it because we wanted to keep going. Their coach gave you guys great compliments about what a great team you are. It's the best team that he's faced. The coolest part about that game is, unfortunately, not every kid got into the game because it was that intense of a game, but we also had every single kid be so involved, cheering each other on. They're letting me know that there were 6 players on the court. They're helping me coach, be aware of the situation. Thankfully, it wasn't our team with 6 kids on the court. It was the other team. But so it was just fully invested in each other. They support each other on and off the court, and they're just great students. And you talk about investing in all the programs in Grandville, and I think investing in women's sports is something that girls that play sports become girls that are leaders. And the more that we invest in them, the more opportunities we provide them, the better off we're all going to be. So thank you for the opportunity to coach them. I'm super proud of you girls, and good job.
Oh, yes, they did lose the game against the moms.
You gonna talk about
I guess that was my second favorite part of the season. To finish our season, we did a mom versus daughter game, and the moms came out. I forget the score, but we did win. So, yes. And I think you have a Grandville alumni up there, number 5, right?
Oh, yeah.
Abby? Yeah. She's in class, so, yeah. Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome job. Great years.
Hey, Rod, is that other picture up? Do you have a third picture, Walt, with the grandparents?
Yeah.
Is that on there anywhere, Heather?
Yep. There it is.
So there was a ton of support all year long by these folks, grandparents of these kids, and I'm just so gracious that they're there at every game and thankful for their support. It's just unbelievable. Just awesome.
The cool event they had too was the purple out event that high school has done, and this year they did it for the girls too. Not to be competitive again, but we did have better attendance than the boys. We raised more money that way. It was just a cool thing for them to experience at middle school level too.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach, and thanks, girls. And
Yes.
Coach Van Hecken, thanks for being here as well.
Thanks.
Excellent.
All right, and we have Mr. Martini and Cummings Elementary here to talk about some great things going on out at Cummings. There's always great things going on at Cummings. Every time I go out there and I walk away, I just always feel so good. Like, wow, there's a lot happening there. A lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. So, Mr. Martini.
Yes, I agree. There's always great things happening at Cummings, so thank you. Like Roger, I also loved hearing your board reports. Amazing. Amy, in yours particular, I coordinate the second grade community trips, and part of our trip is at Heritage. We go to the one-room schoolhouse, so hundreds of second graders are going to see those upgrades.
On that dock,
Yes,
very safe.
that's awesome.
Yay.
And also, I second Barb. I was thrilled to hear about the memorial for Kitty and Jim. They were friends of mine. I met Kitty when I was a teenager, a little younger than these guys probably, and she saw something in me. I was a swimmer, and she saw something in me, and she pushed me and said, "You should be a swim teacher." So I feel like she probably kick-started my career as an educator. So, and Jim and Kitty, they were at our wedding, just beautiful people. So I'm glad that they're going to be, remembered that way. So that's wonderful. But I'm here tonight to talk about Cummings Elementary, and we've got a special group of kids tonight that they're going to share something special. It's nice to showcase our school, but tonight we're showcasing a club that our awesome SEL coach, Mrs. Malott, Mrs. Malott formed this cup, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. This is our second year. Yeah, okay, so we kind of started small, but it keeps building. Each year it's bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is a club that I don't want to steal too much of the thunder, so this is a club 4th, 5th, and 6th can participate in, and it's just grown into something amazing. So I'm going to turn it over to these kids, and they're going to tell you all about it. So come on up here, guys. This is ready to go. I'm going to face them.
Hello, my name is Letty. I would like to tell you about our Be Nice student leadership at Cummings Elementary. Our team is made up of 41 students who were trained in a Be Nice action plan, who are working hard to spread love throughout our school. With such a big group, we divided up into subgroups to work on different projects.
Hi, my name is Nora, and this is Kenzie. Our Braces Making community made braces for our above-line expectations brighten out. These braces were given to students as they were told to pass them along to other students who were caught being responsible, respectful, safe, and nice. We made some for you as well.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Allison. Our school has a butterfly garden that was made by a former student. Classes like to use it during silent reading time and snack breaks. Our team makes sure the garden stays clean and weed-free. We also plant some tulips in the fall.
Hi, I'm Addie. I'm here to talk to you about Kids Food Basket. At Kids Food Basket, they give
bags of food to kids and families in need. They also set goals with how many bags of food they want to make each day. They have 3 locations, Grand Rapids, Holland, and Muskegon. In Grand Rapids alone, they make about 10,000 bags of food each day. They rely on their volunteers.
Hi, my name is Violet. Our Be Nice committee wanted to help, so we took a field trip there and got ready. We first took a tour of their building, then we washed our hands and put on hairnets and gloves. We got split into groups. One group went to go make trail mix, while the other went to go pack lunches. That day, we made around 3,600 bags of trail mix, and I'm sure that day we made lots of families smile.
Hello. We will be explaining recess duty. I'm Ellie and this is Emma. At recess duty, we send 4th and 5th graders out to make sure the kindergartners and 1st graders are being above the line and safe. At recess duty, we pass out bulldog books. We also sometimes plan games for the kids, and we make sure to tell adults if kids are acting up or are sick.
Hi, my name is Callie, and at our school, our Be Nice team hosted an assembly to teach kids what Be Nice really means. For the younger kids, we did a play based off the book One by Catherine Otoshi. This play taught kids to stand up for what they thought is right and to be kind. This play was very successful, and the younger kids loved it.
Hi, my name is Kirk Broom. During our upper elementary assembly, we dug into the Be Nice action plan in more details. We taught students what it means to notice, invite, challenge, and empower each other. We shared videos, play games, and did a couple minute to win it games.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. Now, if you have any questions, we will answer them.
I'm going to tell you. Wow. Incredible presentation. You guys did great.
Some people memorize too.
Yeah. Well, I think they just know it.
They just know it so well.
Yes.
Of course. Wonderful.
So I can tell by the smiles on your faces, you all enjoyed this Be Nice, right? Yeah.
Nice
Do
job.
other kids like it too that you talk with? Do they follow the Be Nice action plan? Do you see it? It's great because maybe someday, you save a life just by knowing the action plan.
We know being nice helps other people, but how does it help you?
What?
We know being nice helps other people. How does it help you? What have you learned?
We've learned that being nice can help people extraordinarily with their mental health.
Very good answer.
Yeah. So the recess assistants, what's the most popular game?
Probably the most popular game was we'd give them piggyback rides or tag.
Or tag. Not Gaga Ball anymore?
Okay.
No, okay, all right. That's out, all right. Fair enough.
They don't have a Gaga ball pit on their playground.
What's that?
They don't have a Gaga ball pit.
Oh, did I bring up a sore subject?
Just started Jason.
Gotcha. It gets a little competitive in the Gaga pit. Fantastic. Well, great job, everybody. Really appreciate you guys coming.
Great presentation.
Nice job.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks so much. I don't know if you heard, but this is a small fraction of the group. They said 41 members, so we got a lot of kids that are out there doing great things. So thank you again for having us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, everybody.
All right. Anything else? No? All right.
I think that's plenty.
That's plenty. That's plenty. All right. Fantastic.
Both groups.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll move on. Any old business?
No old business.
All right, fantastic. Moving on to consent action item or consent action agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Well, passes. All right. Regular action agenda. 5A. Thrun Law as policy developer. It is recommended the Board of Education adopt Thrun Law Firm as its board policy developer beginning in the fall of 2024. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Roger?
Sure. So as you know, we've been talking about True Law Firm and the reasons why We are recommending that the board go with them as our policy holder. If you pass this, again, what would take place is we would take our current policies from Neola, we would take Troon's policies, Mr. Filo and myself would sit down with Troon, we would go through them, see if we have any questions about anything within the policies, and then you would be reviewing those again like you have, and then we would formally approve them, and then once they were approved, then I would notify Neola that we're going to change. We're hoping to be ready if this passes tonight, in the fall, to have these policies in place. It's going to take a lot of work between now and then. Typically, it's 6 to 9 months, I think, somewhere in that window. So we're right on the cusp of that time. So we'll work hard to make sure that we get it done and that it's a quality piece. So other than that, any questions you might have of us?
So one of the things, just so the board understands this is the third time I would have done it. I think you twice?
Probably. Yep. Twice.
And whatever changes, we will review. So you get stacks. So just understand the process, that we're part of this process. And I talked to Raj on this with regard to why we're not doing an RFP, and essentially Thrun is probably the first law firm in Michigan to provide a very thorough package. Nobody else does this.
Yeah.
So
There's some out there, but they're not developed, and they have a lot of holes. That's why when Katie was here, you heard her say, I mean, there's around 300 now, and I know several in our area are switching because it is quite thorough, and which makes sense, and the terminology is spot on that you need in there, and we'll find that out. If you pass it, you'll find that out when we review it.
I did speak to a neighboring superintendent who said they're very happy with that move. Just whatever that's worth.
Good.
Thank you. Did a very thorough job of explaining everything last week and making a good case for it. So I appreciate your efforts towards it.
Thank you.
No other discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. 5B, the Oakstown Intermediate Clock Replacement. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the purchase of a new upgraded clock system for Oakstown Intermediate for a total purchase price of $80,170. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right, discussion.
Yeah, we have Walt with us, and he'll give us some details of this.
So you may recall, I believe it was last summer, I brought clock system replacement for the high school to you. This is essentially the same thing, but at Oakstown Intermediate. Given that the old middle school building is currently under renovation to become Oakstown Intermediate, it made sense for it to be the time to replace the clock system in that building. Just as with the high school, the clock system at Oakstown Intermediate, or the old middle school building, was actually two clock systems that have kind of been cobbled together. Both of those two clock systems were no longer supported. So as clocks failed or something went wrong with them, we were unable, or our maintenance department was unable to order replacements. This purchase would provide a single network synced clock system throughout the entire building, a digital clock in each classroom space and hallway spaces as well.
Good.
Well, I don't remember asking this question, but this obviously runs on software. What's the typical maintenance agreement with this?
So actually, with our old clock system, there was software, and that was actually one of the struggles when that system was no longer supported. The server software, because it didn't receive updates anymore, for example, there were some struggles as far as when the clock system would switch over from daylight savings time. It wouldn't always do that correctly. So with this system, there is actually not a central server. It does talk to a central transmitter that's located in the building that transmitter sends out a wireless signal throughout the building, and that transmitter goes out through the internet, receives a network time signal that way.
Does it keep time by the atomic clock then?
So essentially, yes. Like I said, it goes out through the internet connection to some central time servers. Those central time servers, I believe it's 8 or 10 atomic clocks that are throughout the country, and it syncs off those, yes.
Okay, great.
Is this the same? I don't remember the name, Primex. Is that the same as the high school?
Yep,
system?
exact same system.
You know, and so it's crazy, you mentioned being in Grand Valley, but it was in the Kirkhoff Center, in the conference room there, and the clock had not been adjusted for daylight savings time. That was driving me nuts. And it was like a couple minutes off. So I appreciate the fact that, it sounds silly, but having everything synced and everything working in concert is important, especially in an educational, environment where it's seconds to get to your next classes, right? I mean, I think it's really important, so.
And we did have some discussion with staff as far as the clock system and Brian Mulder at Oakstown, and, he said he polled his staff and they said, yes, a clock system is critical for things like state testing, when you have, everybody needs to look up and have a synced clock and make sure everything's on the same time. So.
Yep.
Do we worry about kids not knowing how to read a clock? I mean, like a regular clock?
So that is a discussion that we also had with Brian Mulder. So at the elementary levels, we still do currently have an analog clock. At the middle school and high school, it switches to a digital clock system. And at the 5th, 6th building, the decision was made to do digital clocks in that space as well.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that. I don't feel so dumb.
So is the cost of this was in the original estimate for the middle school then? Or the 5th, 6th grade building?
I don't know that it was in the building budget specifically for the construction project.
It wasn't in for the construction, that's why we're bringing it to you, because we had to do some due diligence on that. The wiring and all that will be handled from the construction side.
Is it possible we're 80 grand to the good on the new construction project? What's the chances of that?
I wouldn't bring it to you if we didn't have it.
Okay.
That's a great answer.
That's a good answer. I like that.
I love it.
I like that.
I hear that. I wouldn't say okay if we could.
I'm super curious where it says, take down the existing clocks and return them to owners. Who gets to get those fancy clocks when they're all?
So yeah, they will return the clock hardware to us. It's not necessarily worth anything.
I know.
But we do have a technology recycling program with local
That was my
companies
next
that will make sure it gets
question, actually.
retired appropriately.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Can I just clarify on my comment?
Wow, you throw a zinger and drop the mic and then she has to explain it.
Piece that's included in the bond, so that's where the 80,000 is not coming from the construction side.
I got you.
You had him.
I wasn't acting.
We liked your other answer too.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, can you do a roll call vote?
Kiddo? Palmer, yes. Gardine?
Yes.
DeHaan?
Yes.
Stefas?
Yes.
Wondergem?
Yes.
Klein?
Yes.
Hayboard?
Yes.
Pass.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. On to 5C, Oakstown Library book purchase. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the purchase of 4,000 new books from Follett in the amount of $73,280. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
So as part of Oakstown Intermediate new building, there's two things happening. Katie, our media specialist for the district, is taking 5th and 6th grade age-appropriate books from our current libraries that are on the older end of the library assortment there, and reviewing them and then bringing them in. And then we obviously need more than just that. So we need more books for that library. So there's a process for that. And I know Heather and Scott are going to talk a little bit about that.
Okay. So, yeah, this purchase will be for an additional 4,000 books, which would get us up to 8,000 total, or 10 books essentially per student, with an ultimate goal of reaching 20 books per student. One of the benefits in talking with Katie about this program, the catalog system itself, when we purchased from Follett, They're already ready to go. I mean, basically, they unpack them and put them on the shelf. They're in the software system. They're labeled, all of that. In addition to that, and this is not like in the cost of the books, this is just an added feature. If the books are what's called follet bound, it's more your popular titles. If you purchase those from Follett, then those, if they're damaged, they can be replaced over the lifetime of your contract with them, so.
For free.
For free, sorry.
No cost. No cost on that replacement. So like Roger said, or Heather said, this request is for 4,000 books. We're looking at moving 4,000 books out of the elementaries. They're also using that opportunity to, like Roger said, to get rid of books that aren't really in good condition anymore, as well as weed out books that just haven't been checked out. Our process that Katie has really ironed out is if a book hasn't been checked out in 2 to 3 years, is to get rid of it and make space for something new. So it's a good opportunity to clean out some old books that in addition may not be historically accurate anymore, or speak about geography as the world has changed and things like that. So these 4,000 books, like Raj said too, she goes through a very specific process. Each book has to have 2 positive reviews in a professional publication to make sure that they are quality and age appropriate. She'll go through that whole process. She'll make a recommendation. The recommendation by board policy goes to the building principal. That will be to Mr. Mulder, and then the book list will come to us for final approval at central office. So a big, long process to make this happen, but it's going to be really exciting for Oakstown.
Through this process, while I was talking with Katie and Brian too, one of my questions was, what about those readers that are at a higher level? And she said that they will have titles that are at that higher level, but still age appropriate for students.
So question on the total books needed, right? And I see the 3 different brackets, right? The 8,000, the 12,000, the 16,000. Have we done any benchmarking across the different districts to see where is their middle school or their 5-6 building library at? I mean, I guess I was looking at this, right? We're going to go to the emerging
schools.
Yeah, other schools, other districts, right? Okay. I mean, are they in the emerging? Are they in the proficient? Are they in the exemplary? I mean, I'm just trying to get a sense of, is 8,000 enough? I mean, based on this, and I get they're trying to sell us books, right? So I get that. But I mean, is it 8,000 enough? Is that the right number? And then on top of that, the next step question is they're saying, hey, budget, another $9,000 to $12,000 a year. But that's still not really. That's going to take you a long time to get where you need to be, because you're also retiring books every year too, I assume. Right? I mean, if you want to get to the next level and to the exemplary. So 2 questions really.
Good questions. I think you have to keep in mind that the exemplar is the gold standard. Yeah. I think when you take a look at that gold standard, and even Katie in Library World will say this is the ideal, right? And I think that's where you really get under the umbrella of they're trying to sell you books. I mean, obviously we believe in readers, right? We want our kids to have access to a lot of books. So as a gold standard, she, in her expertise, was really comfortable that this is a good place to start.
Okay.
My question is, we have 7 elementaries, and you might have 7 different sets of the Chronicles of Narnia, right? And so she's going through, she's finding, I mean, this is a huge, overwhelming process. I mean, I've cleaned out just one section of like animal sections in the library, and it took me a week. And in one elementary, right? The question I have is, you're going to have a lot of duplicates of books. You're going to have a lot of that stuff. What are we doing with all the duplicates that we're kind of weeding out and getting rid of, and using the good ones and bringing those over to the intermediate? What are we going to do with all the books that are
So I'm interpreting a couple of things here in your questions, and that is a great question. She's already talked out a very specific process with, we're outlining how much time this is going to take in the summer, first of all, to make sure that our elementaries have enough time to weed all of those out. And there are a couple of layers to that.
Books that are only 5th and 6th grade age appropriate will go, but there are some that might overlap, and so they're going to use that. I mean, there are some books that would be age appropriate for 4th grader and a 5th grader, so they'll take some of those extras and some will stay behind. Some aren't in quality anymore to move on. The books that are weeded out or that we get rid of, if they're still good enough, we donate them. We have a specific program that we donate books to, and they come and pick them up and use them elsewhere. So the extras they're making plans for, and some of that is going to be crossing that bridge when we get to it, just in terms of understanding exactly all of the numbers and the condition of some of them. Because if they have multiple copies, it's because they're popular. And then they need to take a hard look at, is it worth moving, and figuring out where to go from there.
Yeah, and I mean, we have books on shelves that haven't been checked out for 10 years sometimes, or they're from 1970. I'm like, that's older than me.
Yes.
So.
And it's always hard. It is older than me. People get. I remember when I started up at Cummings and we weeded books, and it hadn't been done for a long time, and people get prickly about it because we don't like to get rid of books, but at the same time, we have to come to understand.
But
kind of shift our frame a little bit.
Children are enticed by.
Yep.
You can take a Chronicles of Narnia that's old,
good
and
book.
you can get a brand new set of it, and kids are like, "Ooh, shiny new book!
Right.
It smells new. I'm going to read that." And so so I'm glad to see that's happening. I'm sure that I just cannot imagine the amount of work this is taking. So
It's gonna be a lot.
kudos to our elementary library staff.
Yeah. As always, we have great people who oftentimes figure out a plan before we even ask them to. So.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Matt.
Do you want to go?
I don't care, go ahead. I just had one question.
So let's travel back in time a few years.
Okay.
When we had this issue with content. And how that content came to be. And the board didn't approve anything. This was our media specialist. I'm not saying anything negative about Katie, because it was before her time. But we let our media specialist decide what we're going to buy, what we're going to house, and what we're going to provide to students. Now, some things have changed, but the point is, what struck my antennae, where the short hairs on the back of my neck, Scott, is when you said there are certain criteria and it has to have 2 positive reviews in a professional publication. And I will tell you, from my perspective, I don't know if that is a good thing, because we wouldn't be in the situation we are today, because we're still there. No matter what policies we've put in place, there's nothing that the board has put in place on this. This is an administrative role that you're trying to manage.
Sure.
And I'm going to tell you, there are parents that are still not happy.
Sure.
So as we begin to populate, how are we going to guard against content that may not be age appropriate for the average student that the parents will approve? I know that's a long-winded statement.
Yeah, it is, and we live in a diverse community, so there's also not always agreement on what that may or may not be. I'm going to start with the process, though, because our process now, under our current library expertise, is it's more thorough than it was before. I mean, so to look at 2 professional publications as just a starting point, and then layering in approval will give us the opportunity to have a diverse library that we believe is age appropriate and reflects our community.
Do you know, have you reviewed what these publications are in the list that you will accept from?
The publications or the book list?
No.
Yes. Yeah, Katie and I had dialogue about it today. There's a list of, I think there are about 5, starting, they mean more to her than to me, starting with School Library Journal. There's
The ALA.
Yeah, like I
I don't
said,
need to know the
there are about 5 of them that she
As long
relies
as
on.
administration knows
Yeah.
who they are,
Yep.
what they are, and the quality of what they are, to me, I'm trying not to go beyond my.
No, I know. And I think since going back those couple of years ago, we've put some nice policies and processes in place, I think, to be as transparent as we can be, allow parent input and collaboration with families, to allow them to determine what they feel is appropriate for their child. And that allows us to be diverse.
Hey, Scott, and these are, when you talk about, like our other titles, parents can look at everything that's there. They'll still be able
Everything
to
will be
do-
public.
do
Our
that
entire
with these.
library catalog will be public. Parents will be able to look those up, and
Yeah.
I don't
and
know how
I did hear you
familiar-
also
yeah.
say, I mean, we have our process in place, and Katie is well-versed in this kind of thing, but then it goes to Brian as a principal.
Correct.
And he will be having dialogue with her and working through, and then it goes to us here, and we'll be having dialogue.
Yep.
So I think, while I think it's important that kids see themselves in books, I also think it's important that parents have a choice
Yep.
of what their kids are selecting and not selecting. And like you said, we have that process. But I also think, on the front end of things, it is important that we know what's in our new school library.
So let's just say worst case scenario, the books are in the library, and all of a sudden, there's one book that, someone thinks is really inappropriate. That has to go through.
As that process,
through
yes, we have a
Katie
process
to
for it.
Mulder to you.
Yes.
And if you find that's done, it's gone.
Yeah. And that I can do. If it were already in the library, I couldn't do it. But yes, that's
So-
why it's important to have a thorough process ahead of time to make sure we know what's in the library for our schools.
Okay, so
I
I misunderstood. Did you say if it's in the library, you can no longer pull it out?
I can't.
You can't?
No, there's a.
There'd be that process.
Yeah, there would be a
process.
process. I can't just go take it off the
I gotcha.
shelf and say, this
Okay.
can't be here. It has to go through the process.
Okay, very good.
A
I
friend
just
of
wanted
mine
to know
did
that. I
that
just wasn't
and
sure.
gotten a lot of it.
Yeah, that's right. And we have tried that process out on a couple
Yes.
of different
Correct.
books that have been identified through parents. I think it's great parents have that mechanism
Yep.
to question a book, to know more about the book. I think that's a good process.
And like we said, the book list down the road, just like all of our current libraries, will be public for parents to preview. Mr. Mulder's been through this. He's done this, has experience with helping parents to either pre-select or have opportunities to make sure that they collaborate together.
The other thing I want to mention with regard to the marketing ploy of emerging, proficient, and exemplary, the one thing I would just state is KDL, specifically in Grandville, Grandville's their number one branch, has been for many years, and KDL has a fantastic system. So I don't know if their numbers have played into how a local library system actually is engaged and has a mission to ensure people have the reading that they want, the reading materials that they want. So this, I think, is a ruse.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great that we have Katie, who just came from KDL.
Yeah.
Katie comes from KDL?
She came from KDL, that's where we hired her out. Katie from KDL.
We certainly recognize the marketing point of that, in terms of seeing that number, especially when we're setting budgets and finding a good place that fits what we can do and we believe is really puts our kids in a good spot.
Do we have any idea what the capacity, like the number of books that a library, Middle Oakstown can hold?
12,000.
Look at her with the numbers.
Are we making any investment into other formats of books, audiobooks, ebooks?
Yes, but on a much smaller basis. Right now, I'm not going to speak philosophically for the district, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say we still believe in paper books.
And you still have KDL.
Download that Liddy app.
All right, any other discussion? All right, can we do a roll call vote?
Okay. Wondergem.
Yes.
Palmer, yes. Klein.
Yes.
Steffes.
Yes.
Gardine.
Yes.
Dahan.
Yes.
Highborn.
Yes.
Passed.
All right, thank you. And 5D, 2023-2024 general budget amendment, or general fund budget amendment, sorry. Recommendation is recommended that the Board of Education approve the resolutions within the 2023-2024 amendment budget booklet as presented for the general fund and food service fund. Can I get a motion?
Support.
Yes, so turn it over to the experts there.
All right, so typically it's usually just a general fund amendment that we bring, but there were a lot of changes in the food service this year as well. So when we get to that portion, I'll turn it over to Kayla for that. First, I just want to talk about the proposed versus the amended and the why behind amending a budget. So we are required by law to provide and approve a budget prior to the beginning of the fiscal year. So before July 1 of each year. And I know I feel like kind of a broken record up here, but every year we don't have the info from the state in terms of what their final budget is. We have ideas, we have estimates that we can make, but we don't have the final answer. So sometimes when you look at the proposed versus the amended, you'll see things that look quite different. And so the proposed budget I brought to you had a per pupil amount of $96.50 that I was estimating, and that came in at $96.08. We also had a blended pupil count of 5,485, and the blended came in at 5,484, which I don't even know how that happened. That's amazing. I was like, wow. So,
It's better to be lucky than good.
I guess so, right? So additionally, we had some federal grants that rolled over into 2023. Sometimes we have a little bit of unspent title funds, but the majority of the grant rollover had to do with some of those ESSER dollars and 11T. So you can see we also have to wait on our federal grant applications. Scott and I work together on that, and I feel we do a really good job of getting that stuff in June, July. Sometimes it takes the state a little bit longer.
We're done with the ESSER, right?
We will be done with the ESSER 9/30 of 24, by 9/30 of 24. Yep. Yeah, so sometimes it takes the state a little bit to approve, but really the state's held up because the feds haven't released the funding yet. So we tend to fund a lot of stuff ahead of time because it's reimbursement based when we're talking about federal funding. And then the last thing is that we just rolled up the staffing levels to comply with the agreements that had been negotiated. Just a reminder on the different sources of revenue. Local revenue, we have our property taxes, program fees, so like Treehouse, tuition-based preschool, and then investment funds. Our state sources are mainly made up of the foundation allowance and various categorical monies. Again, federal, you can see title, IDEA are big. Those are the ones we normally have. And then we have the CARES Act or the ESSER funds. Incoming transfers are our countywide millages, and also like our Region 3 special ed tuition billings for our ASD and our transitions program. And then other is the food service transfer. So when you look at our amended revenue, I wanted to show you the 22-23 actual versus the proposed and amended. And you can see from the local source standpoint that increased significantly. And that's twofold there. That's the normal, or I don't want to say the normal, but that was the increase in the property tax values within Grandville, as well as the operating millage being restored to the 18 mills. State sources were also up in the amendment. Every time we turn around, there is some sort of increase to that MIPSR's UAAL reform that they have. I need you to know that that's a net zero impact to the budget. So where you get revenue of about 7 million, and then we pay out about 7 million on the expenditure side. So we also saw increases in at-risk and special ed funding for the second year in a row. And then continuation of categorical funds for safety, security, mental health, nurses, and behavioral specialists. So they have a grant now, it's known as 31AA, which covers that mental health and safety. And then we had a small amount of a deferred prior year grant, which was 98C, which is also a, well, actually that's a federal source, sorry. But we had some of the 31O, which goes for the nurses and the behavioral specialists, was deferred last year as well, so. Federal sources, I have a whole nother slide on that to show you, 2 different slides, so you can kind of see too, you know, you got the 5.6 in 22-23, and we are looking at 4.6 this year. So yes, that is $1 million reduction. We tried to plan for that strategically, in terms of knowing that those funds are going away. So that's part of the reason for some of the deferrals each year, so we can carry over, so we can continue the programming that we have going for us. So, and again, incoming transfers is Special Ed Act 18 funding, and then the increase in the food service transfer. So here you can see our federal sources. Again, all the title funds. We did see an increase in title dollars, and those numbers for the amended also include any unspent funds. The ESSER is the 11T money now. That must be spent by 9/30 of 24. And then IDEA. So IDEA is interesting because there is also an ESSER component to IDEA funding, and so that's why it looks in the amended version that it'll be less than what it was for actual last year. So that 120,000 for the resource room component, and then about 7,000 for the preschool component. And then again, so that's the money side of it, and this is kind of the curriculum side of it, if you will. So Title I is for academic intervention services. We have 3 title buildings, East, Central, and West, where we have academic intervention for reading and math at both of those. To be comparable with other elementaries in the district, those elementaries have instructional or interventionists under 31A at-risk funding. So that's how we make sure that we're treating all in the district comparably. And there's a report that Scott has to finalize every year that indicates that that is true. So we have Title II is instructional coaching, Title III, and we have early language learners, and then immigrant as well. Title IV is some academic enrichment, so that Title II and Title IV are also have a proportionate share with our non-publics that we have to allocate a portion for. And then our IDEA, and you can see our ARP, 11T, and all that, and what those have been used for. So when we look at like our object code, so our account numbers are 26 digits long, and each section means something to us anyway. So what I tried to do is put it in terms of the what. So the object, salaries, and benefits, that's how it's broken out in our financial statements. So you can see that approximately 85% of the budget is made up of people. Purchase services include sub-costs, custodial, daycare, and software. Supplies, this includes our utilities, water, lights, heat, and that's typically about 5% of the budget. And then we have our capital outlay, vehicles and equipment. And other is itinerant staff, special ed transportation, and special ed regional tuition. While we're on the topic of itinerant staff, I want you to know that because the funding for special education programs has finally started to come in line with what it actually costs to fund special ed, the itinerant staff for the next school year will be coming back onto Grandville's payroll. The lapse funding that we had been receiving will no longer be receiving. So the ISD is going to do like a slow release of the final funding portion of that. So like next school year, there'll be $2 million that they allocate to districts in Kent County, and then 1.5, and then 1, and then 5, and then it'll be all done. So there are, knowing that that funding stream from the ISD will still be upheld for the next 4 or 5 years is great. It will save our district and everybody in Kent County money, just from a communication standpoint alone. Who does staff go to? There's just a lot of coordination on that. So lapse funding is going away, and itinerant staff will be coming back to each district's.
And I know what you're saying, you say the funding's come up, but the reason it was done primarily was to aid the burden of the district, because the ISD had a greater percentage of those funds. They got a higher amount.
Yeah, and I think initially too, when everybody went to the model of the itinerant staff, it was also because, hey, if I need 0.4, maybe we can share in the cost. So if you had a 1.0 FTE staff member, maybe one day a week they were in Grandville, the rest of the time they were in Byron. But that model never came to fruition. We always have our own FTE based on our need.
Got it. Before you go back for me,
Sorry.
please.
Yep.
So, what always sticks in my mind is the percentage of salaries benefits is usually 81 to 83.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it now? 85.
I said approximately 85. They'll have the actual numbers on the next slide.
You're supposed to be right on with those numbers. Everything coming out of your mouth is like spun gold to me.
So like on this slide here, you got 45 and 35. And then you have to add in the, we have to add in the 2.61 for itinerant staff too. So I think it was 83% when I looked at it. But yes,
okay. Thank you
I could put a range in there next time.
You backtrack with me too, Bob.
Okay.
Again, salaries, you can see the difference from actual to proposed. They're falling in line with not only the with staffing levels, and then the benefit levels also are adjusted to reflect open enrollment for insurance purposes. Insurance in the district is captured January through December, so we always have open enrollment in the fall, October-ish, early November, and so then new plans start in January. Purchase services, you'll note that there's been an increase for security services, software, and sub costs. Also on some of the purchase services and the supplies and materials. This year, we opened the 7-8 building. There's always extra things that are needed on a smaller scale, like not overboard bid threshold type of deal that they needed. So there's that. And then also, I've been working closely with Brian and our specials or enrichment teachers, so like PE, music, and art. And we're going to try to get some of those purchases made before the end of the year so that they're here and ready to go in the fall. Capital outlay, again, there's a security grant out there, and that has to do with some of those security camera items. And our bus purchase was also included in that. So that's just what I read to you. You can see our staffing totals and how those have changed over the 5 years. Oh, sorry, I don't know, you're still looking at it.
It's interesting that they're going up with our head counts.
I know, I was thinking
Staying the same, we're dropping a little bit.
Yeah, and I think too, though, right, the dollars were given to provide support coming out of COVID.
ESSER
And so
monies.
the ESSER monies.
And they're going away. So.
Yep.
By the way, great job to Heather and staff. But when you look at where, I mean, you got to see it. And I mean, the economy is really having a problem here, moving out of the mud. FTEs are a big thing, especially once ESSER's goes away. Even though the governor has got, her silver bullet, which who knows what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, I do want to, I guess I do want to clarify on some things though too, like when you look at custodial and maintenance, we previously outsourced our ground services. It was one of the contracts
Yeah, a lot of that was contract.
that I had brought to you. Yeah, and so some of that, even though it looks like, even though it doesn't look like, it is an FTE increase, but at the same time, from a cost perspective, you're either balanced or a little bit to the good.
The only number that I'm looking at for comparison is teachers.
Teachers, yeah.
Because that's the biggest chunk of our payroll.
When you look at, a lot of the sports services we've added, that's within that number.
And
so our
money
challenge,
somewhere, I'd like to see it there.
right? And I agree. That's our greatest resource right there. So our challenge has been over time to make sure that we can maintain that and look at that without having to have severe cuts. So we started, we've been planning for a long time and we'll continue to. And, we appreciate the funding we have now. It's higher than it's higher than it's ever been since I've been in education, 36, going on 37 years. And that's a good thing, but you're right, those ESSER funds drop off, and so you better have a game plan of how you're going to fund your support systems.
And, we're at 9% for a fund balance, and the fact that we rob Peter to pay Paul is how most districts get around every year and survive. We don't want to drop below 7, right? Because then we're borrowing, and then we're just eating away at what our opportunity is. So it's a big challenge.
Kayla can speak probably to this a little better because she does keep track of that cash flow. We wouldn't need to borrow until we were probably below 5%. But the 7%, we had asked to have a board policy on that, and that was approved with not less than. So, and our philosophy would be not to bring you an amendment or a budget that is less than a 7% fund balance. I do want to put an asterisk by the fund balance piece, right? Because we have almost, I think it was $7 million in the unfunded accrued liability piece, and another $4 million in federal grants, which remember I said is net zero. But what that does is it increases that bottom expenditure number. So when I'm using that as my denominator, right, if it's higher, inflated higher, then from a cash flow perspective, my fund balance is lower. So when I make that adjustment back and I back those out to lower, because the net's not going to change. You're still going to have a $400,000 deficit that I'm projecting, right? That net doesn't change, but from a mathematical standpoint, your fund balance goes up if those amounts are backed out.
Right.
So. And then this just shows the historical fund balance history. So.
I remember that 2014 that came in. We were below
So,
5. I was like,
and those 2 years, 13, 14, yeah, whew, those were rough. But I will tell you, we did not have to borrow at that. We did some creative things.
We did huge infrastructure funding in those 2 years.
We did.
I know that.
Yep.
We took the risk,
Yep.
thank God, because it's, we're already better off today, but still, I mean, it's something you don't want to experiment with.
I've seen districts' fund balances that, I mean, they go up and then boom, they go down, and then they go up and they go down, so we've.
It's pretty impressive.
Well,
Good
look at
work.
Rockford's.
Yeah.
It's not good.
What is Rockford's? I don't know.
It's usually 2.5.
Yeah, it's
They-
somewhere between 2 and 4.
I mean, I've just heard that they keep borrowing
What they
and
are
just
now.
pushing the.
Oh, yeah, the old
ball down the road.
superintendent was like 1.5 for a few years. They
That's why they're always trying to do
you just gotta throw, that's a little.
They build it and they will come, is that the kind of philosophy, or what? I mean,
A lot of them come, a lot of alphas up there.
well, it's true, but I'm just wondering, how why is it so low?
They
I
used
won't
to-
give you an opinion. on
Okay,
that.
we'll talk about it after. All right.
Can I answer any general fund questions, or you want to hear from Kayla now?
Yeah.
All right.
No. So looking at our food service amendment, just a couple things have changed since we first came. So let's stay the same, following what the model that Heather set up. Our local sales are driven from our a la carte sales, our catering, and any adult meal sales. That's a little different from before because we don't have any of that student sales in there. For our state sales, it's increased with our meal reimbursements and our at-risk grants, and our federal, or also that other side of that meal reimbursement and any other grants we receive. What's new? So last time I brought the proposal, we did not have a full yes on the free breakfast and lunch. There is quite a bit of change since last time. It is funded through federal and state funding. Just to put it in perspective, we're on track to serve about 57% more meals this year than we did last year. So Jeff and his team have been doing an amazing job with doing what they can with the staff that they have and trying to make the same amount of people work for the amount of meals that are going out.
Is he doing that with the same number of people? Same staff?
He started with it, yeah, because we didn't fully know about this until, so he is starting to build his staff up a little bit more to fully support the meals that are coming through.
We have one of the most efficient food service programs in the state.
Yeah, it's all in-house too. Not all the districts have that.
Right.
So we do an amazing job with making sure that's all tracked and serving. The Calvin Christian is the other. So, yeah, and then looking at our amended revenue. First, looking at the local sources, that's where we see the decrease in those student meals. We still have the adult meals, any a la carte meals, catering, everything there just remain what we have. Our state sources have dramatically increased with that supplement, so we have the free breakfast and lunch. Our federal sources, since those meal numbers did go up, we do see an increase in those reimbursement rates as well. Just a brief overview on how food service is funded. So there are a lot of rules within the food service fund, what's allowable and what's not allowable. So basically, if it's not related to food service, it's an absolute no, and then there's some other guidelines on there. Looking at our amended expenditures, since we had an increase in revenue, we have a lot of expenses to match that. So we see a little bit of that salary increase that's due to some added staff, some added overtime to make sure those meals are working. Those employee benefits, as long as with that as well. Some of our purchase services have increased to cover some of the cleaning costs, some additional investments we're making into some equipment repairs. Our supplies and materials that have gone up a lot because more food served is more food we have to purchase. Our capital outlays increased again with some of those investments, food service vans, some big equipment investments that we're working on. Our other, you see, is decreased, and that is mostly because of the credit card fees. Since we're not taking in as much money, then we don't have to pay as much in the fees. And then that transfer is the same as in Heather's budget, is right to the general fund for those overcosts. This explains a little bit more about the expenditures and how those change with the amendment. Looking at our excess fund balance, we do have some guidance from the state that we received on how much that they put a cap on can be in our fund balance at the end of the year for food service. That is based off of our meal costs divided by the 9 months that we're operating, then multiplied by 3 months. So it's like a 3-month floater that we can sustain in. Last year we ended up over about $250,000. There was a one-time rule this year that they let us have a leeway because a lot of districts did go over that food service fund balance because of all the extra funding that came in and how things are different, and we didn't always know what grants were coming in. For the amended budget, we project to be under the excess balance about $3,000. And then we're not required to have the plan by MDE this year, but we did want to just make sure that we are in the right direction for spending down that extras fund. So there's some planning that we've done with food service to make sure that we're making the investments in the right places and spending those dollars wisely and not just spending them to spend them. So here are some of the ideas that Jeff has come up with and his team to make sure that all those are spent in long-term investments and not just temporarily. Okay, any food service questions?
So with that funding, can you go back that one slide?
Yes.
So as part of that spend down, we can use it for salaries?
That's just part of the plan. So since we had increased salaries that are already planned in our master agreements, then that's part of the increase of expenses that we have that can go towards that fund balance send down.
Can part of our food source, our food spending also go towards waste? Like what we do with our waste within each of those, or no?
I don't know that it addresses it on there. I mean, we don't, so when we talk waste, I think you're talking more recycling.
Yeah.
But when you talk about just even like trash pickup, et cetera, that's part of that general fund or that transfer from food service to general fund. It covers things like the waste, the lights, the utilities that the food service area would utilize. So
that's under general, you said?
Yeah, food service essentially pays back the general fund to cover those costs. So all our trash costs for the entire district are coming out of the general fund.
I ask just because I've actually been inquiring about, like, I love everything about our middle school. I will say we have a lot of packaging going on that is remarkably plastic heavy. And so I'm really interested in seeing what we can do to make that part of our focus also, you know? So.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was, I'm not sure who was in the meeting with me, but I know we had that discussion and we are looking at doing some of that stuff like we do at the high school in terms of like the silverware side of things.
So that was my other question too, with our intermediate building, do we have that high heat dishwashing capability that they have? I do know that, I think they have it at the middle school too.
They have it.
That can be
Yes.
one major push towards just like at least the flatware doesn't have to be plastic and going into, you know, and I think it's, I mean, especially when we're looking at our students in both of those buildings, where these beautiful, amazing buildings, and then saying this is how we keep everything beautiful and nice, is to make sure that we also have a process for waste.
Right, and I think too, part of that conversation that I was involved with, we had the discussion of, you know, at the high school, they have a green team that's very well championed, and maybe setting something up similar to that at the middle school.
Yeah, we've had discussions about making them mentors, right? So that they can have these and that's one of the cool ideas too about our intermediate, right? We talk about what we do at West, where they're having the students all take care of each other from young to old. Yep. I mean, there can be a lot of really positive things, not just saving the earth, but also like taking care of each other, which I'd love to see that go forward.
The spend down for salaries and benefits, so was that a one-time payout, or is that something that had to be sustained each year?
So what that is, in that 185 number, is we hired an assistant director. That's probably the big bigger chunk of it, and then it also includes the increase per their contract that food service got this year. So, and I will say, like, again, kudos to Jeff and his team, and I think Marissa is going to be an awesome addition because she has a background.
Dietitian.
Thank you, dietitian background. And the amount, I mean, and you know, we do a lot with Gordon Food Service too, so there's a lot of allergies in the district, and Jeff and his team have just been on it. Gordon's has a great resource. He'll call and say, hey, want to make sure that this is okay for this type of allergy and whatnot. But I think she's going to provide another lens that will help ease some of that, and I think it'll help parents feel more comfortable as well.
Any other discussion? Fantastic job as always, ladies. Thank you very much.
Nice, thanks.
All right.
Yeah,
appreciate it. All right.
See, we're not intimidating.
Can we get a roll call?
Roll call? Oh, Wonderjum.
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Steffes.
Yes.
Ardeen.
Yes.
Palmer. Yes. Dahan.
Yes.
Highboard.
Yes.
Pass.
All right. Very good. That brings us to an end our regular action agenda, and there's no public comment card. So the next regular board meeting of the Grandville Board of Education will be Monday, April 15th at 7 p.m. We've got spring break here in a couple weeks, right? At the administration building. So we are adjourned.